And follow us
You're
on
listening
Twitter
to Harare's premium talk radio station, Capitalk, made for the international African. Capitalk 100.4FM, leading the conversation.
We are wrapping up the year. I know many people are closing business tomorrow, and of course we're looking forward to a promising 2018. Now, one of the major aspects that we're looking forward to in 2018 as Zimbabweans, of course, is the elections. The elections have been a process ongoing, and many Zimbabweans have registered. I believe we have about 4.5 million voters, just over, registered so far. The target is 7 million, and I also believe that registration has been increased to the 15th of February 2017. So that's quite exciting. If you haven't yet registered to vote, please make sure you do so. Now, tonight in studio, which is for the next hour until 8 o'clock, we have in studio with us the Vice President of the MDC-T. He is Honorable Advocate Nelson Chamisa. He is the MP for Kuwadzana constituency, and he's here with us for the next, like I said, until 8 o'clock. So a lot of your comments have come in around the discussion we're having tonight. They came in earlier and yesterday as well when we posted that we're having this program, and I believe that the contentious issue is that of the visit of the MDC Alliance to the United States of America. Last week we spoke with Mr. Douglas Monzora as well as Mr. Magora right here in studio, and we had a different perspective about the purpose of the trip. And now we have Advocate Chamisa, who's here, and he's going to tell us he was actually there, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about that. There have been many misconceptions, and we hope that we can set the record straight and also discuss many other aspects regards the MDC and elections. Your number to call us is 0717 777 777. You can call us, or you can also send a WhatsApp message. Please don't try call us just in the last 5 minutes. Call as of immediately. You can also use a landline number, which is 495112. That's Harare number 495112. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we are live on Facebook. Radio has become so good these days that you want to watch it. So please tune in on that Facebook platform. That's Capitalk 100.4 FM on Facebook. Advocate, Masquera say.
Yes, sir. Ruvheneko, thank you very much. Good evening, Zimbabwe. It's no far we're so excited.
Thank you for coming.
Sure.
You've had a busy day. I know you had a busy morning.
Well, of course, a very busy day. We had a couple of meetings, a press conference this morning. Then, of course, with other meetings, I was in court. Then after that, I proceeded to have Mr. Mnangagwa Sona.
You were there?
The president, yes. As you know, I'm the vice president of the opposition, the official opposition in this country. So I'm there as the shadow vice president of the republic. That's the Westminster,
The official opposition meaning what? Do you mean the biggest opposition? Every opposition is official,
it's
surely.
Official. Once you're in parliament, you are the official opposition. So
Right.
in parliament, you have MDC-T, and MDC is led by Professor Wosman.
Right.
So we are the official opposition, but we are the largest official opposition on that account. And also according to the Westminster Foundation, which is our model, we are the alternative government.
Let's talk about 11 a.m., right? We know that, like you said, you had a presser as MDC, and a lot of points were discussed. Let's talk about that. The most current, then we'll work backwards.
Sure.
Just some aspects that we highlighted. Now, you keep singing the song, Advocate Chamisa, and I've read it in various news articles, that you are the incoming government in 7 months' time.
Yes.
You speak of this prophetically as though you're 100% certain that you're going to win the election. Tell us about this vision you have for Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much. One thing I must emphasize is that we are serious in the business of politics. We are serious in the business of the alternative. We are also serious in the business of governance. We are not in politics for jokes and funnies. We are not in politics to just be there as Mickey Mouse accompanying the current government. We are there to make sure that we provide an alternative platform of policy. So yes, in 7 months' time, there's going to be a contest. We are one of the biggest political parties in the race, and because we are now in alliance, we've broadened our base. We've now reached out to our partners who are also part of the alliance. We are even growing bigger because the alliance is still open to other parties who may wish to come and join with us. So our prospects for 2018, a free and fair election, are second to none. In fact, we want to welcome ZANU-PF to the opposition benches as we usher ourselves under the ruling party benches. We're so confident about it.
Let's hear from the listeners and viewers, right? We are going into an election. You can hear from the Vice President of the MDC-T the confidence he's exuding and saying that come elections, MDC Alliance is going to win, and the current ruling party is then going to be on the back bench as opposition and observers. Let us know your thoughts on that. As I said, we are live on Facebook, we are live on Twitter, and we're also live on our WhatsApp number 0717 777 777. You don't have to tell us who you're voting for, but we are opening this conversation to say this confidence that the MDC-T has shown, is it coming at the right time? Now, Honorable Chamisa, we're going to go now back into the issue of the U.S. visit.
Correct.
But before we go there, of course, we had the State of the Nation address today. First one by President Mnangagwa.
Sure.
Off the record, what are your thoughts on President Mnangagwa?
Look, he's a different president from the one we had. But I wouldn't say that is new. I wouldn't say that is new because you are aware that for the past 37 years, of Mr. Mugabe's government, Mr. Mnangagwa has been the sidekick, if not the center kick, of Mr. Mugabe. So they've been literally in the same street. They belong to the same crop of leadership. So for us, yes, we're looking at him, he's trying his best to indicate left, but obviously turning right in terms of actions. What he said today, a lot of reforms, which are good, but most of them are piecemeal, not comprehensive, lacking in detail, very clear about the what, but not the how.
Let's break it down so that we just have clarity here. He mentioned a number of pointers.
Precisely.
Is there any particular one you want to highlight before I go there?
Let me be empirical
Right.
and statistical, if not
Mechanical.
methodical
Right.
about it. The
Okay.
first one, he says we are going to have credible, free and fair elections. Well and good. But that's just the bigger picture. We must now hear the substance of it. He's talking about the what. We want to hear the how. How are we going to have credible elections? What are we going to do to the voters for? How are we going to make sure that Zimbabweans are not disenfranchised? How are we going to make sure that those in the diaspora are able to vote? How are we going to make sure that we have access, equal access to the public media? How are we going to have people in the opposition being on ZBC TV, which is the public media, and the Herald on equal basis with those who are in the ruling party? How are we going to have access to the rural areas, no-go areas, in the farming areas being opened for all political contestants? How are we going to have our traditional leaders not being forced to frog march citizens on account of partisan politics? How are we going to have food being used as a political weapon, particularly in the rural areas? How are we going to make sure that our great soldiers, our great army, are not abused by politicians who then want to draw them into partisan politics, particularly in the rural areas? How do we de-villagize the military and demilitarize the villages? Those are key questions. Mr. Mnangagwa is not talking to those issues. He's not highlighting those issues. How is he going to engage the civic society and the opposition on the issues we are raising? Because we have raised them to him. They are before his table, at his doorstep, and want to hear the answers. We are not hearing it. That's the first one. Secondly,
Let me hold you there so that we can go back to this,
Okay.
because I think it's good to recite everything that you're acknowledging, but let's break it down.
Sure.
You talk of the voters' roll.
Indeed.
Are you not satisfied at this stage that ZEC has been given full control of the voters' roll, and that the BVR process is well advanced in its stages in terms of registering eligible voters? Are you not satisfied?
significant but not sufficient.
Right. What is lacking?
What is lacking is adequate information. Most of our citizens do not have access to information on account of ZEC's own deficit of communication capacity to the people. You know that we have been registering people for the past 4 months. It's not sufficient to register the number you are indicating, 7 million, within that short space of time. So we need to make sure that our people are registered, and we also get information to go out there. The president has to create a conducive environment. Yes, ZEC is independent, but he must also lead in making sure that our state broadcasters are also doing the publicity programs.
You feel that advertising and the publicity is not
It's
sufficient?
not sufficient.
Let's talk of the diaspora vote.
And government is not doing enough, by the way.
Government.
Yes, it's too
And-
little and too late. And we need a lot to be done, particularly by President Mnangagwa. Today, we're expecting that he would actually encourage people to register to vote in his statement. He didn't. Or even congratulate the 4.5 million who have registered. He didn't.
Well, he did speak to the aspect that elections are happening. He also said this in his inauguration
Yes, I'm
speech.
talking about those who have registered and the
Right.
great duty that they've actually placed upon themselves of registering.
You wanted the president to applaud that?
It must be applauded, because citizens who activate their rights in terms of the constitution, their political rights, have to be acknowledged and appreciated. That's the point I'm making. And the first citizen is supposed to thank the other citizens.
Got it. And regards the diaspora vote, is this something that we would still want to push for 2018, or will we look toward steps that could lead to that for the next election?
Of course, Ruvheneko, you must understand one thing. This is in terms of our constitution. Every citizen is supposed to be given their rights, so they have to vote. Even in terms of the SADC guidelines, all the citizens who have the diaspora, not just in Zimbabwe, even in South Africa, in Kenya, they are supposed to be given their right to vote. So this is such a fundamental right. If you tax them, you must also give them certain responsibilities and rights, and voting is one of them.
What we know so far, though, is that, when Justice Makarawa was the chairperson, she did emphasize that to accommodate the diaspora, they will be allowed to come in and register at their time and also come back and vote. When you speak of the diaspora vote, what other ease would you recommend that ZEC look toward?
Those are administrative and logistical explanations. They are or operational explanations. They are of no consequence. They cannot subtract from the bundle of rights citizens have. We have to make arrangements wherever citizens are demonstrably available. For example, in the UK, in the US, in South Africa, in Australia, let our citizens vote. We are not the first country to activate the diaspora vote. It has been done elsewhere. Kenyans do it. People in Botswana do it. Malawians do it. South Africans do it. So it's not as if we have been born today and we're the first ones to hold elections. So this is common, basic, best practices in terms of what is obtaining on the global market.
Now, we do know for a fact that we have a diaspora listenership. Let us know what your thoughts are in terms of what you understand so far as BVR has been going on for the last couple of months and your inclusion in the 2018 elections. Let us know on Facebook, on Twitter, on 0717 777 Honourable. I
must emphasize, Ruvheneko, that there's also a constitutional challenge. Before the court, as we are speaking, it has to be determined so that we do not disenfranchise any of our citizens. So those are the issues I would expect President Mnangagwa to speak to. The issue of corruption, for example. He
did talk about that, especially today. He said, my government will have zero tolerance to corruption.
Talk is cheap. We want to see the rolling of heads and bodies within government. People who have been...
That sounds a bit violent.
It's not rolling in terms of the political figurative language.
Right.
I'm a very non-violent person, but I'm just emphasizing that there has to be action rather than just words. Words are cheap, but deeds are serious. And we want to hear what is going to happen to those ministers who approach state coffers with hands-in approach as opposed to a hands-on approach. We want to hear what's going to happen to those who disappeared the 15 billion that has not been accounted for. We want to hear what will happen to those who have collapsed our parastatals. You know that in terms of the budget, we have sunk almost 2.26 million to these loss-making parastatals. What are we doing? Instead of having talk, we were told about criminals who are around the president, but we only hear that there are 2 people or 3 who are before the courts. So do you tell me that this country has not been moving on the basis of just 2 or 3 people? We know that there are many people in government who must account.
Let's talk about the time frame. Right now we are, following a hashtag. That's hashtag ED100 days. And the president is barely a month into his tenure. And looking at, we don't want to get into the US issue right now, but looking at the time frame.
Do you want me to explain the US thing? Because
no.
I'm ready for
in a moment, sir. Let's just get past this, because you've mentioned a lot and we're not yet done.
Right.
But what I wanted to just say was everything that you're saying, you keep saying talk is cheap. You want to see action.
Indeed.
What action do you hope to see in barely 30 days?
Look, isn't that they've started acting? But in a piecemeal fashion. We have Mr. Chombo, we have some other guy, just 2 or 3 people who have been dealt with. But we want to see significant and quite tangible action on the part of government. That should satisfy us as citizens. Some people have been saying you must give time to President Mnangagwa. In fact, we have given him time and enough time. This is why we even went to the inauguration, because we felt that it is our gesture of goodwill. It is our gesture of saying, let us do business together for the greater good. And what our responsibility is to make sure that we give an effective alternative. We are going to give him a chance by making sure that we go on the marketplace of the ideas, give him ideas for free. We are not selling our ideas as an opposition. We are not selling our ideas as an alternative. We are saying, Mr. Mnangagwa, listen to us. Let the people be free to express themselves. Let us hear our people on the radios. Let people feel that there's a new dispensation. Let us have roadblocks disappearing. Of course, there's been a good start there, but let it continue so that there's free.
What's your take on the military presence in the country? There's some people observing and saying we have now become a military state. You spoke earlier when you were addressing some areas that you wish the president to address, and you spoke about the demilitarization of villages,
Indeed.
for example.
Indeed.
Some would say there needs to be demilitarization of urban areas as well.
Indeed.
There is a strong military presence in the country.
Indeed.
Would you say we have become a military state?
Well, look, I'm glad to say that the new, and I must congratulate him, our new commander, PV Swanda. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a professional soldier. And this is one good thing Mr. Mnangagwa has done. We are an alternative. Where good things have been done, we appreciate. But where we feel that certain things are not in order, it is our duty to ring the alarm bells and, of course, have a sign call to say this has to be corrected. So that is a good thing. We have had positive statements from him. He has said all the soldiers are returning to the barracks, which is very good, because when we came back from the US, part of what we also got was the going back of the soldiers to the barracks. It was quite a positive move. And I must say that we do not want to see our boys in uniform being on the streets when we are supposed to be transacting politics. Let politics be a civilian affair, an exchange of ideas on the marketplace of ideas. Those who have got good ideas must be celebrated. And osmosis of ideas is what we would want to see. So let it be an affair among us political gladiators, our soldiers giving us the warmth and comfort of security. That is what we would want to see.
That's what you're looking toward.
Indeed.
And then regards what happened in November, the series of events that took place, the unity that Zimbabwe showed toward one purpose. What's your definition of what happened? It seems, you're an academic, I know, and it seems many academics are still coming to terms and trying to grapple with what to call it. It's been called a coup light, it's been called a coup not so coup. What's your interpretation as the MDC, not as an individual, about what took place?
It was a miraculous transition. Nobody ever imagined that President Mugabe would resign, especially after the Asante Sani remark. We didn't expect him to do that. But you must understand that this was not just a military effort. It was a combined effort. The soldiers alone did not do everything. It was also the citizens themselves on the streets, I think on the 18th of November. But it was also Parliament coming in with impeachment motion, which also did the trick that put pressure around President Mugabe. So for us as citizens, the key thing is that Mr. Mugabe represented the system. His exit is the first stage or phase one of the ultimate dealing with the problem we have in this country, which is lack of transparency, a lot of opaqueness, lack of accountability to the citizens, losing a republic, weak institutions, lack of trust. And this is why a lot of people are too angry in Zimbabwe.
Honorable Chamisa, was it a coup?
Look,
by academic definition.
I wouldn't say that it was a coup. It was citizens putting pressure, the military putting pressure, Mr. Mugabe resigning. So I wouldn't want to say that it was a coup. It was a collective effort, which was good for the country.
You're listening to Ruvheneko on Capitalk 100.4 FM. We have in studio with us Honorable Vice President of the MDC-T, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, and we are with him until 8 o'clock. Your messages are coming through there, many of them, and also on our Facebook. We see some of you joining our platform. Thank you for joining us, and lots of comments here. And we also have our Twitter platforms as well, so keep talking to us there. I'm not even sure where to start. There's so many. Okay, so we have questions around the diaspora vote. Somebody was talking earlier, I saw a comment just now saying that the diaspora brings in over 2 billion a month. So surely we should have a right to air our views. And then someone else, this is Richard Chashamba, says, could diaspora forget and smile? We want to come home, but you guys are begging for sanctions so that we die in the diaspora. I think it's a good point to start on the US issue now. We've got about half an hour to address that thoroughly. So let's go there.
Thank you very much. I just want to say, I think our biggest challenge as a country is that we are so steeped and used to negative language. It's name calling, it's hatred, it's finger pointing, building a nation does not require one party. It requires all the political parties. Now, I must also indicate that the MDC has been at the center of dealing with all the measures that have been put against Zimbabwe. You remember that during the inclusive government, Prime Minister Tsvangirai then led a team of all the ministers, inclusive team of ZANU-PF MDC ministers, to go to Europe to deal with the issue of the measures that have been put on the country. We do not want to go to history to say how did those measures get to be in place. There were a whole host of issues around the rule of law, governance, whatever, and I don't want to go there. What is appropriate at this juncture is to say we do not need any measures against our country. But in order for us to get out of our circumstances of measures, we need to do our own bit. How do we do it? We must engage the international community. We must make sure that our country is chlorinated of a pariah status, of a banana republic tag, so that we become one of the celebrated members of the family of nations. This is a glorious family.
Right.
For us to be there, we need to make sure that we do certain things right. What do we need to do right? Our governance issues. Let us make sure that we also deal with most of the governance issues that have been affecting our politics in terms of how we hold elections. Let's have credible, free and fair elections, which is the positive thing from President Mnangagwa. But let him go a step further and demonstrate in terms of the trajectory, the steps that are going to be taken on this road to free and fair elections. That's the first one.
Sorry, before you go on, there is just obviously the question to say, before you went to the US, not to say you were not entitled to go. I think everybody understands that you went on invitation from the US.
Sure.
Absolutely your prerogative.
Sure.
On the issue of going there and stating some of these reforms that are needed, had you at any point sought an audience with President Mnangagwa before you left?
We have a tripartite platform where all political parties are represented in the context of ZEC.
Right.
Our issues are clearly well tabulated. President Mnangagwa was Minister of Justice. He has got our list of issues on his table. And I have always engaged him. You know, when I was in Parliament, he was my opposite number. I would always share with him ideas. He knows where we come from. In fact, the person who should thank us for this trip is President Mnangagwa and the government. We did free public relations for them. They must actually understand the kind of things we did.
Honorable Chamisa, I have on record that you clearly stated that your trip to the US was because the MDC is the incoming government. And you were setting the tone and strengthening relations for your government, not for President Mnangagwa. So I'm not understanding where you say that President Mnangagwa must thank you for that trip.
Precisely, because between now and our coming into the new government, there is a government. This government needs to survive, needs to feed the people of Zimbabwe. We've done a lot of humanitarian work so that continued humanitarian support from the US is available. We've done a lot of work to make sure that we open the doors for the government.
Did this trip open doors, or did you simply say uphold the status quo? Did you explicitly ask the US government to lift sanctions?
We asked them to make sure that they open the doors for all Zimbabweans, particularly the Zimbabwean government. So we've actually expanded our goodwill on behalf of the government.
So where does the thought come from, especially from the presentations given, the interactions that we saw from this presentation?
Which presentation?
In the US, and when, for example, Honorable BT was presenting, he was asked,
Yes.
And this interaction showed, which is why there's so much noise on social media.
No.
Let's not feign ignorance, Honorable Chamisa.
I know what you're
It's
talking
a fact
about.
that many people are interpreting that entire presentation to say that you did not actually go there for the people of Zimbabwe.
What did Mr. BT
that
say?
You went
what did Mr. BT say?
Uphold the status quo.
No. Go ahead and look at the record. We must be factual. You must know that there are people who have misled the people of Zimbabwe. And this is why we must actually have a new dispensation in total. We can't have a new dispensation when people continue to use lies.
Honorable Chamisa,
yes.
When you were there, did you ask for the status quo to change?
Yes.
You didn't give conditions. It's inaccurate to say that you gave conditions to say unless certain factors have been adjusted by the Zimbabwean government, please do not, before the 2018 elections, change the status quo. Is that inaccurate?
It's inaccurate. We had a total of 18 meetings with the State Department,
with
the National Security Council, with the Treasury Department, with the civic society in America, with the big guys, the fat pocketers in America, who are willing to pour in millions into Zimbabwe. And these are the people we're meeting. They are serious about Zimbabwe. They love Zimbabwe. They would want to come and give their resources, invest their money, so that we're able to open the factories and the industry. That is what we are doing. What you are referring to, which is the congressional hearing, in which Mr. Biti participated, at no point did he talk about sanctions. Because that matter did not arise in terms of him contributing on that. There was the issue of the public debt, and that is what he responded to. I must say that there was distortion, falsehoods, mendacity and lies on the part of people who were trying to feed a particular narrative to say when you are in America you are asking for sanctions. But forget it. We are not that stupid to go and ask for sanctions that will actually affect us. We were in the inclusive government, Ruvheneko. We know that removing sanctions is not an overnight process. It takes a whole long period of time. You know, up to the time of Mandela's death, he was still labeled a terrorist with sanctions upon him. So we are very conscious of the time element. We are very conscious of the desirability of us raising about 15 billion within the first 100 days to make sure that Zimbabwe is back to business again. Those are the things we are working on. So I would not want to waste a lot of time with misinformation. A lot of people were so, prejudgmental. They just came to a conclusion. They did not do a cost-benefit analysis. Why were we in the United States of America? They do not listen to us. They listen to ZANU-PF. They listen to other people who are naysayers and cynics. But listen to us. We were there. We opened the doors. We have set the framework for government to go and complete what we started. If they can't complete, we'll do it for ourselves when we become a government.
I think this is exactly why you're here. We wanted you to give us your view from your own words.
Thank you.
Twitter, the internet, news sources have given us many different perspectives. We were not there.
Twitter is Twitter.
We have, those that watched what they watched, those that interpreted it, how they interpreted it. That's where the question mark is.
Indeed.
And your constituency is the people of Zimbabwe. So if at any point there's confusion about your objective, then I think this is exactly why you're here tonight, to clarify that. And those that saw it as otherwise can be educated.
Thank you, Ruvheneko. 3 objectives for our US trip, and it was a very successful trip. Our take-home value has been fantastic for the business, for the ordinary people, and even for the government. This is why I'm saying even the government of the day has to give accolades to us. We must be given our honors. Sando Zedu for the kind of work we have done, instead of being excoriated, vilified, or the kind of malice you have seen. We went there for 3 fundamental reasons. The first one being strategic re-engagement for economic recovery and reconstruction. And there is a lot of things that we are going to even brief government on what we've managed to get there. The second one was to reposition the opposition as an alternative to the current government. Of course, it's our duty to make sure that we also articulate our vision, our policies to the domestic audience as well as to the international market, because we need friends, we need partners, we need solidarity. That was the basic issue we're doing. The third one, we're also articulating our view in terms of the trajectory to make sure that we have a successful transition from the big man, Mr. Mugabe, to the big idea which we are about to be ushered into. So that we're not talking about people, we're not talking about individuals or personalities. The country has to move on the basis of great ideas. And that is the kind of discourse we are now entering into. Let Mr. Mnangagwa stand up. We will stand up with our own ideas, and let the Zimbabweans decide on who has got a better idea or the best idea. That's what we should do.
And I believe, as you said, even in your 3 points, one of the focuses is, of course, the elections, right?
Indeed.
And looking at this, you spoke, I think, to the Standard on the 17th of December, and you highlighted that we need 15 billion for the immediate reconstruction of Zimbabwe. And you said it's not criminal to build a coalition of global solidarity focusing on free and fair elections in Zimbabwe.
Indeed.
Besides the trip to the United States,
Indeed.
What other key components are needed going forward for a free and fair election in 2018?
Well, there has to be a fundamental underwriting and security of the process, of the transitional process, in terms of the steps we have from now until the election. Let us have the international community, the SADC, AU, UN, the US, and the European Union being able to be the guarantors to this process so that it doesn't slide back in terms of just the security of saying these are the things we want to see happening in Zimbabwe, and this is the basis upon which our incremental support to Zimbabwe is going to be benchmarked. That is our view. It is also our view that in order for us to be able to go there, there must be discourse between the ruling party and the opposition in general,
right,
not just the MDC. We have always extended our all-life branch to President Mnangagwa to say, look, we have a war granary of ideas. We have gigabytes and terabytes of ideas that we are ready to give you if you are willing to listen, if you are willing to just look at Zimbabwe as Zimbabwe. You can't build Zimbabwe as ZANU-PF. We build Zimbabwe together. MDC, ZANU-PF, everyone who is willing to work together, let them be part of those who are putting their hands on the deck. That has been our call, and that has been our approach. We have been patriotic from day one. This is why we have never used violence or some non-conventional methods to deal with engaging ZANU-PF. So be clear about that in terms of the kind of trajectory we would want to see. We have articulated the minimum reforms. I'm sure they are all well known now, what we would want to see between now and the elections.
Right.
And we're saying once those elections are held in a free and fair environment, if we are defeated, we'll be the first ones to buy a cake for President Idi Mnangagwa. But if we defeat him, he must also be the first one. We don't like cakes. He must buy us chocolates so that we are in government, you know. That's how democracy is supposed to be like. That's what we should do. And of course, I wanted you to laugh, which is very important. I hope also your audience will laugh. It's important once in a while.
Honorable Chamisa, as we look at, again, the actions and the efforts that were made locally before you went, of course, on your trip, one of the things, of course, we all remember is the unity that was presented on the stage on the day of the Solidarity March.
Sure.
And one question that obviously is still floating around is that of a unity government.
Sure.
Did you at any point get engaged and asked if you wanted a unity government, if, Mugabe resigned?
One of the most important aspects of going forward, a critical and a necessary component of a forward thrust in Zimbabwe, is a shared value, is a shared vision, is a shared approach to issues. So we have always been available. We are still available. In fact, our President Tsvangirai, made efforts to make sure that we catalyze the expectation of the national sentiment to say, let there be an inclusive arrangement, a transitional arrangement or mechanism in between now and elections, which will work together from MDC, from ZANU-PF, from other political parties, coming together, articulate the imperatives, the minimum vitals for a free and fair election, the minimum vitals for economic restoration, the minimum vitals for opening up our factories and making sure that industry is back to function again. All those things were motivating President Tsvangirai and ourselves. But unfortunately, our offer had no takers. It still doesn't have takers. We are ready anytime. I know that there are efforts that have been made to actually meet President Mnangagwa. That effort has not been answered
during
or acceded
the process of Mugabe resigning. Sure. Was the MDC approached by anyone from ZANU-PF or during this process to consider an alliance and a unity transitional government?
The MDC was not approached.
Right.
But we had that as an available offer.
You were open to it.
We're open to it.
So this trip to the United States, some would ask, there's some questions coming in, was this a retaliation for not having been included in the government?
Ruvheneko, how do we retaliate to ourselves? I told you that we are beneficiaries out of this. The problem is that our colleagues in ZANU-PF think that we are illegitimate. We are equally citizens. We are equally stakeholders and stockholders in the national well-being. And we cannot be relegated to the periphery. We define the trajectory of the future. Mind you, in a government you have two parties, the ruling party and the opposing party. So we are in government as the opposition. So you
were not disappointed that you were not part of President Mnangagwa's cabinet?
It's not personal. We can't be disappointed because it's not about personal gains. It is about the people of Zimbabwe. Yes, we're not quite encouraged by the development because we would have wanted an inclusive approach so that whoever wins then takes the country forward. But in a context of agreed and shared minimum essentials. That has not happened. Unfortunately, we now have to prepare for elections. And once we prepare for elections, again, you cannot run away from working together because we share a country, we share a nationality, and we share this beautiful Zimbabwe. We must make it more beautiful. It is the responsibility not just of government, but also even those who are in the opposition.
Honorable Nelson Chamisa live here on Ruvheneko on Capitalk 100.4 FM. We have been discussing the vision of the MDC. We've also been discussing the visit of the MDC Alliance to the United States of America. Many different perspectives are coming in now. Some thoughts here and some encouragement, I think, Honorable Chamisa here of the party and the alliance. Some thoughts here saying, maybe MDC, these MDC guys are hungry for position. What is the shared vision of Zimbabwe? Please spell it out. Then questions about, this is one from One Drum DJ Tau, says, when Trangirai steps down, we will take you guys seriously. What's your take on your current leader? Is he the guy for winning the 2018 elections?
He is the guy, but before I go there, I want to answer the first one. Mm-hmm. We are not parrots. We are not naysayers. We are not doomsayers. We do not mean ill for our country. We are well-intentioned. We are patriotic. We are Democrats. The reason why we have been articulating the alternative is to say we have a national vision. What is our national vision? Our national vision is that of a new Zimbabwe and a new beginning based on one, effective developmental governance system, inclusive of all the political players. Let every voice be listened to, but let our people be free, because that was the essence of the liberation struggle. We need to give validation to the gains of the liberation struggle by making sure that our people enjoy the freedoms that we so cherish, that our people who died for a reason. When we begin to enjoy the prosperity of our nation, that our people who died begin to understand when we are sharing the national cake equitably and equally. So the issue of the governance is important. We need our police force to be a police service, not to be a police force. We need our soldiers to do what they know best to protect our country. We need to make sure that there is no state-party confliction. The difference between the state and the parties. ZANU-PF is a party. That's the numerator point, but the denominator is Zimbabwe. Sure. So national functions are supposed to be national functions, so that we don't have slogans of one political party, but we have all the political parties coming together, combined.
Honorable Chamisa, let's take a phone call.
Thank you.
Good evening, you're live on Capitalk.
But mind you, Ruvheneko, I've not dealt with the vision we have.
No, you have not yet.
Thank you.
Hello, you're live? Okay, we've lost that call. As we said, we've got different lines you can call on. If you prefer a landline, it's Harare number 495112. And if you want a cell phone number, it's 0717 777. Let's take that call. Hello, good evening. You're live on Capitalk.
Hello, how are you, Ruvheneko?
Very well, thanks, and yourself?
Very well. Thanks for the program. Thanks, Honorable Chamisa, for explaining the U.S. trip. But the more you speak, Honorable, the more I am convinced that you should be leading the alliance. With all due respect to the current leader, you've got the energy. We saw you mobilizing voters to go register and vote. You're the only one I saw from the opposition, from any party really, who was doing that door-to-door campaign, urging urban people to vote. I've got friends in the urban areas who claim to support you, but who refuse to register to vote.
Yes, sure.
And these are, I think, the issues you also have to face. That 20% voters currently are from the urban and 80% are rural. I don't think it works well for you. But I think if the MDC Alliance is to win, there must be a serious look at leadership renewal before elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think that goes back to, thank you for your call, sir. I think that goes back to that issue of, President of the MDC, Mr. Trangirai. It's been a long run with him, and I know that you will speak, obviously, as his Vice President. I know we sat down a few months ago on my online program, and you said the same thing. You said that he is the man for this right now. And, of course, things have changed. The landscape has changed. The Mugabe must go mantra has expired. And my question then would be, what is the strategy and what is the focus then of the MDC as the opposition? It's no longer Mugabe must go. So what are you running with?
Change has always been our message. We realize that President Mnangagwa has appreciated some verses and chapters from our Change Hymn book, and he has taken a couple of them, which is good for the country. And we are not just going to focus on change, because the change has been there from Mr. Mugabe to Mr. Mnangagwa. But our focus going forward is the new Zimbabwe promise, which is based on opportunity and prosperity. So we are giving Zimbabweans a platform to start afresh, a platform to be able to have opportunity, employment opportunities, opportunities in the in discourse, opportunity in art, opportunity in the entrepreneurship. That is the platform we are making available for the next platform of campaign. We are very clear that President Tsvangirai, some are saying he's not well, he's not, he's recovering, I must say, which is good news.
Yeah.
And we've told him to actually have sufficient time to recuperate. This is why you have seen that we as the vice in leadership are also vice in articulation of policies, in providing the leadership, the alternative. My being in the United States of America would have been Mr. Tsvangirai, but I had to be there.
To give emotional support to allow for him to recover, and you stand in the gap.
Precisely. You must know that sickness and illness are not things that are invited through an invitation card. These are things that come to us, visit us. You and I could actually be in that position anytime, but it does not mean that it takes away the fact that he's still the visionary carrier, that is still the best foot forward. For us as the opposition, he is a unifier, he is a tried and tested leader. You know that he's the only leader who has consistently and constantly demonstrated national support and national footprint across all the areas. But we're also conscious that if push comes to shove, if there are any problems, we are very clear in terms of our strategic planning and our strategic leadership, that if in the event that there are some impossibilities or some unforeseen circumstances in terms of disabling him to be able to be available,
continue.
We have mechanisms. Constitutionally, we have
Are you one of those constitutional mechanisms? Would you be next in line?
I can't be a constitutional mechanism. You know, in MDC we celebrate people being voted for. So we will then have people choosing a leader of their choice.
The next leader would be. Let's take a call
so
on the line.
It is a people-centered decision.
Hello?
Sure. Good evening, you're live on Capitalk.
Yep. Can I contribute?
Yes, you may. Go ahead, sir. Where are you calling us from?
From my brain.
Okay, what's your name?
Tawanda.
Go ahead, Tawanda.
I wanted to comment about Vanwartora Nezoma sanctions. Kuti pakaitwa GNU nyika yakaimprove stereki. And question yangu ndiye kuti sanctions akanga adziswa here zvinobva zvakanaka pa GNU kune vari kutaura zvemasanction.
Tawanda, Tawanda, you are my man. Thank you.
Thank you, Tawanda, for your contribution from Maybrain. Thank you. All right, go ahead, sir. You can answer that.
Well, look, Tawanda's point is basically amplifying what I've always been saying. Yes, all form of measures have to be removed, but you know, charity begins at home. We have a duty to do the necessary minimums, so that as a country we have chlorinated our politics. We have actually set our politics free of any other, you know, infecting and undesirable politics. Once we do that, we'll then be able to go out there and make sure that we'll open lines of communication, lines of support, lines of reconstruction. It's very possible. We did it during the inclusive government. It's not difficult, but what is required is a team effort. Let us come together. Zwanza zinogezana. We are one people. Tiri bvine mpimbira gombo rimwe chete senyika. Sivanhu vanye. Sifuna kuvambana. So that we take our country forward. That is the call.
Thank you. In the next 10 minutes, and this is obviously just guiding both the guest as well as the listeners and callers, we are going to power through a number of questions in the last 10 minutes so we can get the most out of our guest in the time that we have. I will not be interjecting those that seem to think that my interruptions are being rude. It is not that. It is to allow for as many questions to come in. So, Honorable Chamisa, if you can also assist us with short, succinct answers so we can get through as many as possible.
Thank you.
Let's take a call on the line. Good evening. You're live on Capitalk.
Hello, Masquerade.
Tasquera Masquero.
Right. Mfunzo wangu wakanangana na Mr. Chamisa.
Ndinorwadzwa
ndichinzwa Minister Mtsvangwa vachitaura iwo kuti makampeni ari kuuya ema-election aya, they're going to use the Zimbabwe National Army. And we all as Zimbabweans know what that means. Is it right for a top government official to say those things? And is it warranted? Zvinobvumidzwa here? Aikunzi MDC atanzi akudainza vanhu vokurashira kuti vatibatsire makampeni waitonza vanhu vanotengesa nyika. But it's correct for a minister kuti ataure kuti hanzi National Army ndoyatibatsira makampeni. Ndomubvunzo wangu chete iwoyo. Zvimwe zvemasanctions izo hayi idimensia yevanhu vasiri kunzwisisa zvinhu zviri kuitika munyika. Ngavandibvunze maita basa.
Maita yenyu.
Ndazwa iyo murume ari clear uyo. ndinotenda nemashoko awo ndoda kupindura neshona kana muchinitendedza. Mashoko ava mutsvangwa akatirovesa nehana takatambura nokuti anobvisa kana kuti kusubtracta pane basa ratakaita kuAmerica rokuti netati nyika yakunonaka inzwai zviri kubva kuHarare kune mutakunanzwa wemashoko nekuona kuti vamugabe zvavasipo taakuzama kusima nekuvaka chidziro chitsva chenyika asi tonzwa vamutsvanda vauya vaputsa mudhuri uya vakutaura nyaya yekutoda kuunza masoja haisi militia epati masoja iZimbabwe National Army vakuru vanofana kushanda vakatarisa mapato ese kuti mune runyararo remunyika kwete kuti tobva tatora masoja toaisa mahapwa yebato rimwe chete chipini munyika ndozvimwe zvinoita kuti mvura inonoke kunaya nokuti mashura nemakuna iwayo akashata zvikuru tinofunga kuti vamunangagwa vachanogara pasina vamutsvangwa vovazora pfungwa dzakanaka nokuvatsoropodza maitiro avo nokuti vanonakirwa nokungokonzera mutyutyu munyika nokurovesa hana yavanhu toda masoja kuti adii isi tichitaura navana vanyamunhu nokurakidza kutambudzika kwepfungwa nemateya emazano akazara mukati mehurumende yedu tofanira kuzvigadzirisa izvozvo.
Aiwa tazvinzwa. Let's take another call on the line. Good evening, you are live on Capitalk.
Hello, Ruvheneko.
Hello, good evening, how are you?
Michelle.
You can go ahead with your question. Aiwa, you can go ahead.
Okay. Ndokuda nyaya yemasanctions yatinetsa zvikuru ende nyaya yerutonetsa but even pamavatoelekeza zvavakanga kufika nyaya dzemasanctions masanctions ngatimbotangei handichere begin at home zvinhu zvese zvinotangira mushure mekunge mazvigadzirisa umbamenyu kuti munge muchiwanikwa muine asizite achibhuya kumbamenyu kana tisana kugara mumbamenyu achifara kusvika kumbamenyu munge mumbamenyu makarongeka mumbamenyu hamusati matsvairwa muZimbabwe mune china yakawandisa sterei yakawanda nazvino izvezvi mugavhimenti imwe ichiine china zokuti haitombokwanise kudeedza kana vanhu vanokwanisa kuuya munyika hatina safety yainombouya nezimanira zvakaiva Then the discussion and but pakatanga kuti vanhu vezvemasanctions tinorwadziwa especially navanhu vari mugazi tinorwadza.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Honorable Chamisa, if you'll allow me just to add on that point, so you answer it in its entirety.
Sure.
Obviously, there's the contentious issue of sanctions, and I guess the interpretation, you as the MDC Alliance had not gone in the favor of the Zimbabwean people. There is, of course, the issue of even just finances, right? Here's a comment that came in. Sanctions affect every Zimbabwean, regardless of political persuasion.
Correct.
They cause unintended suffering to the ordinary Zimbabwean in many ways. Restrictions in trade leads to increase in prices, which has a downstream effect on every consumer. It doesn't matter which political party you belong to or the route politicians choose to take to address the causes of sanctions. Zimbabweans need to be united in fighting this issue, whether MDC or ZANU-PF or whatever political party. And the issue then is really about nostro accounts, for people not to be able to make payments for no reason at all. Other than that, international banks are simply not willing to take the risk on Zim, risk fearing OFAC fines due to sanctions. CBZ is a case in point.
That's correct. I totally understand what the citizen is saying. What you must understand is that we have exogenous factors and endogenous factors, internal factors and external factors.
Right.
That must be, sorted out. We are saying the external factors is very difficult for us to control them, but we can control the internal factors. Let's eliminate any excuse for anybody from outside to find their way in. Muroya achipinda pamusha anotouya kuburikidza nehama dzebu dzemumusha. Hakuna muroya anouya asina svikiro rake mumusha. Saka isu mumusha ngatigarei zvakanaka kuitira kuti wokunze asauya achiwana svikiro. Masvikiro anokonzerwa nesu nemabatiro edu ehama dzedu munharaunda, muraini, mumusha. Ndo patinofanira kugadzirisa ipo. Saka ngatitsvairei musha wedu pagovernance, pama-elections, panyaya dzeeconomy, pacorruption, panyaya dzekukanganisana kodzero dzevanhu. Hapafaniri kunzi dzamara washayikwa kana mumwe munhu kuti ashayikwa. Hapafaniri kunzi pabiwa 15 billion haizikanonzi iri kupi. Hapafaniri kunzi pane munhu arohwa achidemonstrata. Kudemonstrata is a democratic right. Toda kuona kuti vamunangagwa vatodzidzidzisa vanofanira kuperekedza vanhu vanenge vachidemonstrata nemapurisa vachiridzirwa mabhoso vonotsveta petition yavo dzokera kumba apwanya zvinhu osungwa. Asi arakidzira zviri pachena ngaatendedzwe. Ndo zvatakarwira munguva yehondo. Izvozvo hasati zvagadzirika. Zvikagadzirika izvozvo tine takukwanisa kuti muvenga anobva kunze uko takukwanisa kugadzirisa nyaya dzake. Asi nzwisisai kanyaya iyi Ruvheneko. Vachiwenga vari komanda statement yayo yavakaita musi wa16 November vasati paitwa zvakazoitika izvi vakataura vachiti nyika yasvika pakadai nokuda kwezviri kuitika muruling party, kuba, kunyengera, kungonyombana kutukana, G40, Lacoste, zvichidaro bopoto iroro ndo rauraya nyika nemachiwenga vakadaro mukuru wemasoja. Imi makuda kuti uye izvi toda kutsvaga zvimwe zvinhu kuita kunge chinhu chauya chitsva hatisatsvagai manyepo nokunongedzera zvinhu sirizvo. Let us not do finger pointing and red herring by trying to find convenient excuses. This country is capable of going forward on the basis of our unity. We can defeat any challenge as a united people. We are a great people, a people of the House of Stone, Zimbabwe, Imbayamabwe. We are able to do it with the best brains. We have our intellectuals, engineers, pilots, doctors, everywhere across the whole world. These people have to come together to build and rebuild a new Zimbabwe.
Honorable Chamisa, very well put, and I think my question then would be around, the time frame that President Mnangagwa has had. Remove the idea of him being ZANU-PF and you being MDC.
I don't even look at that.
Does anybody, given the time frame that he has had, like we discussed in the beginning, just barely under 30 days to execute anything? Zimbabwe has had one president for 37 years, and Zimbabweans are still in the euphoria and the excitement of that transition. Do you think that in 2018 Zimbabweans are ready to change again to yet another leader when this one will have barely been in power for, let's put it at 4 to 7 months? Is this the right time for more change, and what chance do you think you have under those circumstances?
Well, look, it's not about myself doing a procrastination or a delay of a prognosis or a prophetic thing to say Zimbabweans are not going to vote for change again in 2018. We are giving our best offer as an alternative party for 2018. There is going to be an election. There has to be a marketplace of ideas. We are putting our best idea, and we believe that we have a better and a greater idea. Let that idea be interrogated. E.D. Mnangagwa has done a fantastic thing. He's not the face of change, but the face of a transition.
It sounds like most of the changes that you are pushing for and the reforms that you're pushing for sound synonymous with what President Mnangagwa has said. Although you've rightfully said he hasn't yet had a chance to act it, he has just said it.
Precisely.
So this is what I'm saying, that come now, maybe 2 months before the election, and assuming that things are looking in the right direction for Zimbabwe, putting the people, first. Is this something that you can still interrogate? Because it seems that since 2000, the MDC has just been saying, Mugabe must go, and we need to execute and change A, B, and C.
You have heard me. I have not said Mugabe must go. If anything, Mr. Mugabe is gone. And it is good for both ZANU-PF and MDC. But what we must focus on now is to say, how do we get our country going forward? That's why we have elections. Elections are for people to make a determination on who should be in office, and we are happy with that. We have given Mr. Mnangagwa the opportunity and the chance, and this is why we have not disrupted his program. We want to see what he's going to do during the transition. If he's able to superintend upon a successful transition, we will congratulate him. But as far as we are concerned, there has been too much talk but too little in action.
We've got one last call before we cut the program. I know Owen is going to slaughter me, but let's just take one phone call now. Good evening, you're live on Capitalk.
Hello, Ruvheneko.
Hello, ndokumbula kuti mukurumidze nemvunzo wenyu because time yedu yapera.
My question is on the ZEC Secretariat. Who is going to appoint the ZEC Secretariat? Our major concern. All the parties going to be involved in his or her appointment.
Okay.
Because we know that once that person is appointed by the president, there's going to be bias.
Thank you. All right, let's get him to address that. Thank you so much for your call. Honorable.
Thank you, Ruvheneko. Two issues there. The ZEC Secretariat is different from the ZEC Commissioners. And I'm sure the caller is talking about the ZEC Commissioner, who is going to be the chairperson to then replace Rita Makarao. That process is done by the president, but we've said as the president does what he's going to do, it is going to be his first major test in terms of his ability, not just to be independent, but also to be credible in his appointments, because it's actually a decision point we are going to take as a basis of marking him if he's ticking all the right boxes, if he's doing all the right things and pressing the right buttons. In terms of the Secretariat, it's actually a contentious issue. Those people who are working in the ZEC Secretariat, we've said we want to be sure that there is an audit of personnel. In as much as we are going to do an audit of the BVR process and the election material, we also want to audit the personnel so that we are sure that the people who are there are truly non-partisan, because we do not want people who are advancing a partisan agenda, whether it's an MDC partisan agenda or a ZANU-PF partisan or any other party, ZUP, Kondu, whichever party you mention. We do not want people who contaminate our national institutions in the army, in the police, in ZEC, everywhere. Let us have Zimbabweans first who are able to serve the country and not a party.
Thank you very much, Honorable Advocate Nelson Chamisa, Vice President of the MDC-T. Thank you very much for your time. We would like to wish you a very happy holiday from here at Capitalk FM, and thank you for availing your time before we take a break.
Thank you, Ruvheneko. God bless you.